Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a source here that it's, well, pretty simple on the surface. It's a transcript, an
Right.
easy English conversation for beginners lesson, Anna and Richard.
Mm.
But our mission today, it's not really about the vocabulary itself.
No, not the words per se.
It's about the strategy underneath.
Mm.
How do they actually make this stuff stick? That's what we want to figure out.
Exactly. And this is actually a brilliant little piece of pedagogical design, you could say. It's a masterclass in handling some big learner hurdles.
Like what specifically?
Well, think about it. The fear, right? The psychological side, and then just being swamped with too much information overload.
Okay.
So we're going to dissect the kind of conversational tools, the structural things they do to set the learner up for success almost before they even start learning the English.
Yeah, I noticed that. They jump right into the emotional stuff, don't they, before the main dialogue even starts.
Mhm.
They say people often feel shy or afraid to make mistakes. How effective is that really, tackling the feelings first? Especially for adults who might, tried and failed before.
Oh, it's absolutely fundamental. It's the first lever they pull. They're basically setting up like a psychological safety net right from the start.
Okay.
Think about it. When you're anxious, your brain, the bit you need for forming complex sentences, your prefrontal cortex, it sort of shuts down a bit.
Right. Butterfly kicks in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So by just stating clearly up front, making mistakes is okay, it's part of learning, they immediately lower that anxiety, that performance pressure.
It's like giving yourself permission to sound a bit awkward at first.
Yes,
Which, honestly, that applies to learning anything new, doesn't it? Coding, the new system at work.
precisely. And they double down on it. They mention that they also made many mistakes learning languages.
Ah, the shared experience.
That shared vulnerability, it's strategic. It makes the whole thing feel more human, less like a test. It ensures you, the listener, are relaxed and actually ready to absorb when the real content begins.
Okay, so they've prepped the mindset. Permission to fail is granted. How do they then structure the actual, the language part to make sure it sinks in?
Right, so once the fear is managed, that's where their core strategy comes in. I'd call it something like habit stacking. It's about routines.
Habit stacking.
They don't just throw random phrases at you. The entire lesson is built around these predictable, everyday routines. They focus on the anatomy of a normal day.
Yeah, the dialogue they use, it's maybe 3 minutes long. And it's all about simple English for everyday life. They talk about exercise.
Hmm.
Anna walks, maybe with his sister a few times a week. Richard jogs, but usually on weekends. Then straight into breakfast.
And see, that choice is clever. Anchoring the new language to things you already do every day, like your morning routine, like breakfast. It
Right.
makes the vocabulary instantly relevant.
Something you can potentially use or think about tomorrow morning.
Exactly. Repeatable. And the conversation itself uses those basic questions and answers you actually need. How are you today? What did you do this morning? Simple, practical stuff.
And they also link the activities to feelings. Richard says his running helps him feel relaxed and fresh.
Yes, good catch. That connects the new words not just to an action, but to a positive physical state, which helps with memory recall later. It gives the word an emotional anchor.
Then the breakfast specifics. Richard has eggs, toast, a banana. Anna likes oatmeal with fruit. Why those items? Seems almost too simple.
Well, think about it from a learning perspective. We don't really need to memorize their breakfast. The point is the simplicity and recognizability.
Ah, so it's not confusing.
Right. They chose common, almost universal breakfast items, not some complex regional dish you've never heard of. It minimizes any cultural confusion, lets you focus purely on the sentence structure, the pattern. I eat X, she prefers Y. That's the template.
Got it. And then there's this subtle little bit where Anna mentions what she does after breakfast. She reads or listens to an English podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And she specifically mentions their own podcast, the Easy English Conversation podcast.
Yes, that little loop, it's brilliant, isn't
It
it?
is pretty neat.
It hooks the learner right back into the habit they're trying to build. It creates this self-contained learning ecosystem.
Use our podcast to learn, and part of learning is listening to our podcast.
Exactly. They provide the content, and then the content itself reinforces using the content. It's guiding the learner not just on what to learn, but suggesting how to keep that learning cycle going, moving from passive listening to active, self-directed habit. Very smart.
Okay, so moving on from the dialogue itself, they have this distinct section called the vocabulary explanation. They actually stops the flow.
Yes, deliberate segmentation.
And they only pull out 3 specific words they just used. Why
Mhm.
just 3?
Well, it avoids that feeling of being totally overwhelmed, which is classic for beginners, right?
Yeah.
But let's look deeper than just limiting the number. Think about the choice of those three words. Usually, alone and relaxed.
Okay. Why those particular ones?
Well, usually that tackles frequency, habits. It's fundamental grammar for talking about routines, like Anna walking 3 times a week. You need that word.
Makes sense.
Alone defines a state, a relationship, or lack of one. Instantly usable in describing social situations or personal activities. Did you go with someone or not? Basic information.
Right.
And relaxed, that connects right back to the psychological safety they built at the start. Remember Richard feeling relaxed after running? It links the language back to that positive feeling, that goal state.
So they're not just random words pulled from the text.
Not at all. They're giving you high frequency, high impact tools, words you genuinely need to describe your own daily life and your feelings about it. Very functional.
And it's not just the definition. They give an example sentence immediately after.
Crucial for context. Definition plus example reinforces the meaning and shows how it's actually used. It nails down the understanding.
But defining words isn't enough, is it? There's the practice part.
Ah, yes, the conversation practice segment. This is the critical active learning loop. They don't just explain, they make you do.
They explicitly tell the listener, repeat the sentences slowly. Practicing with your voice is the best way to learn.
This is where it shifts from just taking information in to actually building the skill. You're engaging motor memory now.
Why is actually saying it out loud, even if you're by yourself, so much better than just thinking the words?
It fires up more pathways in your brain. When you speak, you use your auditory system to hear yourself, your motor system to form the sounds, the planning pulse of your brain. It's multisensory.
More reinforcement.
Definitely. If you just repeat silently in your head, you skip the physical part, the articulation. And that physical production is often the bottleneck in a real conversation.
So they're trying to bridge that gap early.
Yes. And notice how they bring back the safety net. Don't be shy, just speak. Even if you make mistakes, it's okay. They keep reinforcing that permission, making sure you actually do the practice instead of just listening to it, moving from theory to physical action.
Okay, so dialogue, vocabulary practice.
Ah,
Then before they sign off, they give this very clear, actionable list. 3 tips for keeping the learning going.
right. And this is where they nudge the learner to take this outside the specific lesson, to make it part of everyday life, not just a 15-minute session.
Moves it towards a 247 mindset almost.
Exactly. And look how the 3 tips cover the whole cycle: input, output, and retention or organization.
Okay, so tip 1 is listening. Simple enough. Listen to English every day. Podcasts, songs, short videos, just keep the input flowing.
Constant low-stakes exposure keeps the language environment alive in your head.
Tip 2 is speaking. Speak, even if it's not perfect. They stress, the more you speak, the better you get.
Again, reinforcing that permission to fail, but now it's framed as an active command: go do it. Output is essential.
And the final tip, tip 3, is recording new words. They actually suggest using a small notebook or your phone notes. Why specifically writing them down? In our digital age, with apps everywhere.
That's a really interesting point, isn't it? Why push a notebook? I think the act of physically writing or even consciously typing it into a specific new words list on your phone, it forces another layer of engagement.
More deliberate than just tapping a definition in an app.
Exactly. It requires a bit more attention, a kinesthetic link. Plus, it creates your own personal dictionary, your lexicon. You're not just passively encountering words, you're actively curating a list based on what you didn't know. It's personalized resource building.
Okay, so putting it all together, what's the core strategy we've extracted here? It seems to be, first, create psychological safety.
Absolutely, number 1.
Then anchor the new language content firmly in predictable daily routine.
Make it immediately relevant and repeatable.
And finally, create this closed loop system. Provide input, explain key parts, actively practice output, and give clear steps for ongoing retention and habit building.
That's the synthesis, pretty much. The real takeaway from this deep dive isn't just the English words Anna and Richard used. It's the clarity of the method. It's segmented. It's designed specifically to prevent that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Which is exactly what you, the learner, often need when tackling something complex.
Yes. And it all comes back to that idea of consistency. Doing it every day, even just a little bit. That seems to be the engine they're building.
So what does this mean for you listening? Whether you're learning English or maybe tackling a new skill for your job or anything else complex?
Well, The source itself ends with that phrase, learning English is easier when you do it every day.
Right.
But given how the lesson was structured around daily walks, morning routines, breakfast, maybe the deeper insight is about how you do it every day.
Wow.
Maybe stop trying to carve out huge, intimidating blocks of study time that you might skip if you're busy.
Okay.
Instead, look for those tiny pockets of time tied to habits you already have locked in. Your commute, waiting for the kettle to boil, your walk after dinner. And then just try to attach a tiny piece of your new skill practice to that existing solid routine. Just 5 minutes of vocabulary review while you drink your coffee, listening to a relevant podcast while you walk.
So piggyback the new habit onto an old, strong one.
Exactly. It's like leveraging your existing autopilot, that
Yeah.
consistent low effort integration attached to something you do anyway. That might just be the ultimate hack, the real deep dive into making knowledge stick almost effortlessly for the long haul.